So right off the bat, I gotta say that I love going to my local library. It has really started to save a lot financially on things that I've wanted to read, but I'm just like, man, I can't justify $29 for a collected trade, or I can't justify X amount. So anyway, with that said, a while back, I had a few people in the comments say, really should check out Red Hood Outlaw. It's exquisite. And I was like, I kind of flipped through a few things. I was like, yeah, that looks cool, but for me, if it's not the main Batman book, it's always hit or miss for me. It's either really good, okay, and when the new 52 first dropped, I read the first 3 issues of the original uh, volume 1 of Red Hood and the Outlaws, and it wasn't bad, but it just, maybe it's just because the way that Scott Lobdell portrayed Todd and Speedy and Coriander, it felt like I think at the time, and still to this day when I go back and look at those, I think to me it felt a little bit like a slap in the face to everything that Marv Wolfman and George Perez did, particularly with Coriander, and what happened, what kind of was built up with beneath the Red Hood um, pre Flashpoint. I've come to appreciate it since then, but I think that's why when people say you need to check out Red Hood Outlaw, I was like, maybe, and I'm glad I did. Long story short, too late. So I was able to grab the collected trade of Red Hood Outlaw. And this particular one starts out with Requiem for an Archer, which this is what was this? Hold on, I think it'll tell me. And then maybe, yeah, there we are. So this is Red Hood and the Outlaws Annual Issue 2. This is from 2018, so this would be the volume 2 of Red Hood and the Outlaws, not the original 52. I think this was around Rebirth. With that said, we see Jason Todd looking worse for wear. But before we dive into that, let's talk about who made this particular issue, if I can. Let me find it. We'll just go with the opening. How about that? This is writer Scott Lobdell, pencils Pete Woods, Clayton Henry, and Neil Googe. That's how you pronounce that name. Inkers Pete Woods, Clayton Henry, and Wade von Graubadger. Colorist Rex Locus, Pete Woods, and Marcelo Maiolo. Letters Troy Petiri and Taylor Esposito. And if I butchered any of those names, feel free to make fun of me down in the comments. Love this cover that they use. It's just a cool concept. Like we've talked about this before with older comics, where I love when they give you some idea of what's going to happen in the book instead of like, cutesy, like, oh, they all look like little bunnies or they look like the X babies. I like a cover that kind of gives you an idea of what you're diving into, especially if it's the artist on the interior. That's just me. With that said, I think this is wedged in between Red Hood Outlaw and that Outlaws 26 and 25. From what I understand, I need to find issue 25. I want to get that as a single issue. I don't know what happened exactly, but essentially Bruce has beat the living crap out of Jason and said, you're not part of the Bat family anymore. Get out of Gotham. Now he says, I was beaten to death with a crowbar. Even that didn't hurt as bad as I feel now. Might think I'd be gunning for revenge. Truth is, right this moment, I'd settle for functionality. So he's trying to shoot and he goes steady, and he ends up. And I like how they kind of use the Castaway Wilson homage here. It's kind of funny. I was just like smiling mockingly at him, and then we see Bucky. Not Bucky. What's his name? Roy. I was like, what is his name? Seriously, Jaybird? When I said you need to lie still, I meant in bed. Be a doll and hand me my gun. And again, kind of going back, I do like the concept of Jason and Roy because they both kind of had issues with their mentors. And you can see how they're trying to help build one another up. And that's kind of what this annual is. It doesn't get into anything that happens between the two books. This is just kind of giving you a character focused. He goes, absolutely not. Who knows what stitches you ripped open with that stunt? Remember that voice in your head? Don't do it, dummy. That was me. I'm fine. I appreciate your help, Roy, but I don't need it. Sure seemed like you did when I pulled the big guy off you back in Gotham. You're lucky Batman didn't knock your head off. Too soon? So we see that Jason is now coming to terms with his father figure, essentially kicking him out of the house. That's kind of what we get back to. Now, Jason has his hangups. And from what I understand, Roy is essentially trying to fight alcoholism, I think is what it is. And so that's what I, again, coming back to this is what I like about this book is it's essentially them trying to help each other in the macho way, trying to take my mind off what happened. He's an idiot, sure, but his heart's in the right place. First time in nearly a month I've been able to stand up and walk around. Used to know this place like the back of my hand. Omni Monitor Station, where I learned Roy was held hostage in Korak at the time. Probably impossible. The place still remembers me. And so he has a moment with this digital version of Coriander. And I don't know. Just having her team up with Jason and Roy, maybe just because I'm so hung up on the George Perez, Marv Wolfman, Teen Titans era, that you'd see Corey and Donna were like these pillars for the next generation of the Justice League. So kind of seeing her as this outlaw, it just, to me, I don't know, it doesn't vibe with me. What do you guys think? Now, we then see Roy talking to Killer Croc. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? Can't believe we scored a real-time sit-down with one of Mel Reeves' most notorious inmates. I suppose I should shoot Amanda a thank you letter for allowing this one. She'll get her pound of flesh someday. That's what Waller does. And I kind of like how they flip the reversal where we see him talking digitally this way. And then again, we see the, what do you call it, the guards watching Croc, obviously. I want to be able to help my friend. I just can't figure out how to do it. I hear you. Got a friend who can't pull his head out of his butt either. Tell me this. Why do you think you're in any position to help someone else when your own life is turning to crap? Always with the truth bombs. But yeah, I don't have a good answer. Sure you do. Maybe it's time you went back to rehab. I might know the place. Sounds great. Give him a call. I'm right in the middle of something. Just let me finish and I'll go. First lie of an addict, kid. Life always starts tomorrow. And so it's kind of interesting to see that Wayland is sponsoring Roy. It's a really weird paradigm shift here, seeing a supervillain sponsoring a superhero. I don't know. It's kind of a far cry from what we know Wayland Jones to be. Well, his character's kind of been all over the place. I mean, he started out as kind of more like a gangster when he was first introduced, and then they upped him to kind of mindless sewer dwelling killer. And now these newer books like this, they're showing that he has a heart, which is cool. I like that. You can kind of see through the literal hardness of the villain to see the person underneath. And then the interesting way that Matt Faction's doing them in the new Batman book, it's interesting. But now, with all that said, the Outlaws are kind of in this crisis mode because I'm not sure what happened, but Artemis and Bizarro are missing. And they are not showing up on any type of scans on the planet. And Jason's just feeling lost and hopeless. And he's trying to build himself back up. Now, as they go, they're heading to somewhere. I don't remember where. It's been a minute since I read this issue. He goes, Beijing, because I've been doing a lot of research of something called the Underlife. As near as I could tell, it's an umbrella consortium of sorts. The Yakuza, the Mafia, cartels, intergang, pretty much anybody doing anything large scale and bad in groups of more than two, has agreed to play by certain rules. It's impressive in its scope. I'm just shocked you looked up the word consortium and used it in a sentence. But why here? Why now? Why us? Because I tracked a shipment of bad opioids that caused 300 people in the States to be hospitalized last week. Guess who was responsible? Well, I was going to say my old dance partner, Sue, I think is how you pronounce it. maybe not. And so you kind of get some action because they go to confront the Susie Sue character about the opioids, and we kind of get a Winter Soldier moment, which is kind of cool. I like the little nod here. They get in the elevator. There's all these girls. Hold the elevator. And I just like how Jason just doesn't move. He goes, "You got my hood in my bag? Your right bag? Absolutely. Hand it to me." "Sure thing, buddy, but does anyone else smell gun oil?" "Just me." Get to the roof. Bing! And "We're the sisters of Susie Sue. Prepare for your imminent death." I just heard someone shout, "Sisters of Susie Sue," with a straight face. I can die a happy man. Now, again, kind of getting, kind of cottoning up to what Scott Lobdell's doing with these two characters. This would be stupid if you heard Batman say this, or Damian. Well, maybe not Damian, but you get my drift. So having these two kind of more punk rocker versions of Batman and Green Arrow, it's a good laugh. And again, going back to what I talked about, saying I love when a book gives you an idea of what is going to happen. I appreciate that. You're thinking, I've been reading all this stuff about trauma and addiction, and then we finally get some action, and these girls really stick the business to both Roy and Jason. Like, I don't understand. Susie told me your family hated her. So I take a beat down for your black sheep. Seriously? We're sisters, which means we'll fight to the death for each other, no matter how mad we might be at her. And I'm not so worried about a beatdown by someone lame American boys. Lame? Totally. We're just trying not to hurt you. Then you're doing great. She reminds me very much of Tiny Tina. But as the fighting happens, Susie Sue comes in. And there's actually a very quiet moment. And that's why I like it. You get the intensity, and then it kind of. But we finally see Jason and Roy break down a little bit of the macho-ness. He goes, "You called me brave, but the truth is I drink scared. Sometimes I'm scared because I think I'm going to die. Most times I'm scared I'll wake up and have a whole new day to prove to the world I'm a failure. I know you're also going through a lot right now. Maybe you want to come too? What do you think?" And I just like how Jason just looks at him straight faced and he goes, "I think rehab's for quitters." And you think that these two are going to come to blows, and they actually start laughing. That's just kind of how it is. Especially two heroes who have been through so much trauma since they were young boys. They don't know, they have to quip. They'll have their quiet moment, but they have to kind of break and have that levity. And it really, for me, after all these years of knowing that Red Hood and the Outlaws exist, this really makes me appreciate what they were trying to do with Roy Harper. So, guys, this starts to kick off Red Hood and the Outlaws. And I'm glad that they put that in here to kind of see how Jason is with friends compared to family, which is very much a power dynamic that happens for time immemorial. So if you've enjoyed what you see, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics, and either pick up the singles or the collected trade. In addition, please also support your local library, because that's how I was able to finally get this and share it with y'all. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Todd bell next subscribe, that way as I get template content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love to talk with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.